Now we'll move to the humid continental climate, and it varies between what they call the hot summer and the mild summer. We'll just lump them in and call them humid continental. Key characteristics of the humid continental climate include the fact that it's only found in the northern hemisphere. This makes sense. Previously I mentioned the fact that you're going to find the northern hemisphere also to be known as the land hemisphere, whereas the southern hemisphere more known as the water hemisphere. Take a look at a map and you'll notice this. So it makes sense that we're more likely going to find a continental, as the name implies, climate region in the northern hemisphere. One of the things you'll notice in Indiana, we have these two characteristics. We've got more of a hot summer in central Indiana and a little bit more of a mild summer there in northern Indiana. So we see the latitudinal differences, and that also plays a key role in understanding some of the vegetation differences. You're actually going to find a little bit more of that pine that you find up there in the northern, like in Canada and Michigan and the northern part of the country, up in the northern part of the state, but down in the central part, a little bit more of a deciduous tree. Further, this is going to be an area that's going to have areas of conflicting air masses, and that conflicting air masses helps to provide that frequent weather activity, i.e. the mid-latitude cyclonic systems that constantly come through this area, which play a key role in giving this climate region the title humid, is because it does get a good amount of precipitation from the conflicting air masses, from that frontal lifting, and a little bit of convection, of course, in the summertime. Of course, the name implies continental. We're going to find these on the interior of continents, and so we're going to have a very large temperature range from the highs in June and July to the lows in December and January. Further, we're going to find some of the best agricultural areas in the world are found in the humid continental region. One key to understanding this is it does have that hard freeze in the in the wintertime. That hard freeze in the wintertime kills off a lot of the pests and the agricultural pests that prevent a good amount of crop production. Further, this is an area that's quite flat, which we'll explain a little bit more later when we think about glaciers. That has no really effect on the climate region. Anyway, one of the things we'll find, like I said, the best soils in the world in northern Indiana, Illinois, central Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota. Here's a deer, which is found in plentiful array in the humid continental climate region. One of the things you'll notice, because of the high agricultural output, these suckers flourish. And so they have that dense forest that you find throughout this area. But then that's a good protection place for especially for young to hide in that forest, that lush forest floor. But then, of course, there's plenty of food sources there in agriculture areas, which they, of course, feed on a lot of various crops. Anyway, and so one of the things you'll notice, this is a big problem in this area of the country, is actually there's too many of them. They actually thrive too well in this climate region. Evidence for one indicator is the fact that 1.5 million deer collide with cars each year in the good US of A, which is rather important because it causes about 150 deaths per year. Actually, more people die from running into or actually trying to avoid running into a deer than tornadoes each year, which then leaves, of course, $1.1 billion in damage. One of the things is you'll find plant adaptations here. In the spring, of course, the deciduous trees, they produce those thin yet broad, lightweight leaves, and that allows them to capture as much sunlight as possible for food production, i.e. photosynthesis. Those broad leaves, what it does is, when temperatures are warm, they're great. However, when those temperatures start to get a little bit cooler, those broad leaves essentially expose too much of that surface area to water loss and tissue damage from that colder temperature. And so to help prevent that, they essentially just said, all right, we'll just lose the leaves in the wintertime, which we know well here in Indiana during the fall. Of course, the array of colors from those trees all losing their leaves and slowly drying out. Comparing a humid subtropical to a humid continental climate region, the key thing to notice here, you're going to see a greater temperature difference throughout the year. That makes sense. We're going more latitudinally north, in the case of the northern hemisphere, of a humid subtropical climate region. The climate region that overwhelmingly is found here in Indiana would be the area in red, the humid continental region.